Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca Alvarado and I'm a graduate assistant with the Advancing Research and Curriculum. Today we're going to talk about more common grammar errors and how to fix them. This video is a sequel to the top 6 most common grammar errors and how to fix them. If you haven't checked that video out yet, make sure to take a look at it. The link will be down in the description. Before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. This is not an exhaustive list and not all errors will be easy to identify. As you'll see from repeated experience, there are many ways to create an error and not every error has its own name. In addition, there are many ways to identify and fix errors in your writing. Because of this, such fixes often depend on the context and needs of the situation. Remember that errors are natural and even experienced and professional writers are prone to making errors. Know that errors are not a reflection of your moral character and that bad writing does not come from simply making errors. This guide will cover the following grammatical errors, how to identify them, and how to fix them. Adjective errors such as dangling modifiers and misplaced modifiers. Noun pronoun errors such as pronoun antecedent errors. Possessive apostrophe errors, and misused or missing words. First, let's discuss dangling modifiers. So what is a modifier? A modifier encompasses adjectives and modifies the meaning of something in a sentence. Dangling modifiers are modifiers that do not correctly attach to or modify a part of the sentence in a way that makes sense. This tends to occur when authors choose to use passive voice to obscure the subject of a sentence. This is incredibly common in academic writing. To identify dangling modifiers within your sentence, you may ask yourself these questions. Where is the subject in my sentence? Who is doing the action? Where is my modifier? Is it at the beginning or end of the sentence? Is the subject capable of doing the action or receiving the description that is placed on it? How can I clarify the subject or other noun that is being modified? How can I rearrange the sentence? Here is an example of a sentence with a dangling modifier. Getting ready for my appointment, the music was turned on. One fix for this can be, getting ready for my appointment, I put on some music. Notice how this clarifies that the music was not the one getting ready. Rather, I, the subject, was getting ready. Some other possible fixes include, the music was turned on because I was getting ready for my appointment. The music was turned on as I got ready for my appointment. The music was turned on to get me ready for my appointment. All of these examples clarifies the subject that is being modified. Now let's practice correcting dangling modifiers. In the following sentences, correct the dangling modifiers. Pause the video here if you need some time to work these out. Going to the grocery store, I made a list and checked it twice. Because of the way this sentence is worded, it is unclear whether the list was made before going to the grocery store, at the grocery store, or even after going to the grocery store. Therefore, one possible clarification for this sentence could be, I made a list and checked it twice before going to the grocery store. Gracefully and elegantly, Paula's long, silky dress flowed. In this sentence, it's unclear whether the adverbs gracefully and elegantly are referring to Paula or her dress. Therefore, one possible fix for this sentence could be, Paula's long, silky dress flowed gracefully and elegantly. Having finished her meal, Joanna took a nap. In the last example, notice how having finished states the action but does not name the doer of that action. One fix for this sentence could be, Joanna took a nap after finishing her meal. In this case, naming Joanna as the doer of the action clarified the sentence subject. Another common grammar error dealing with adjectives is misplaced modifiers. Generally, this is a modifier that is too far or too disconnected from its intended antecedent, or the word or phrase it is modifying, to properly make sense. Recall that pronoun antecedents latch onto the nearest available noun. Modifiers are similar. To identify a misplaced modifier, ask yourself these questions. Identify the subject, verb, phrases, prepositions, and modifiers. Break the sentence down into smaller parts, remaking it so it expresses less information. Do the modifiers attach to what you want them to? Are there any other nouns or actors that are situated between your intended modifier and the noun? How can you rearrange the information in the sentence? Can any prepositions, phrases, and modifiers be simplified or take on any other forms to position them close to their intended object? An example of a sentence with a misplaced modifier is as follows. The man walked into the kitchen to get lunch that was on the second floor. Notice how it's unclear whether the kitchen or the lunch was on the second floor. One possible fix for this sentence could be, the man walked into the second floor kitchen to get lunch. Another possible fix could be, the man walked into the kitchen on the second floor so that he could get lunch. Notice how both of these fixes clarify and simplify the meaning of the sentence. Now let's practice correcting the following sentences that contain misplaced modifiers. Pause the video here if you would like some time to work on these examples. My sister came home and collapsed onto the sofa, drenched in sweat. This sentence makes it unclear whether the sister was drenched in sweat or the sofa was drenched in sweat. One possible fix can be written as, my sister came home drenched in sweat and collapsed onto the sofa. Notice how this clarifies that the sister was drenched in sweat. He saw a cat and a dog on the way to work. This sentence makes it unclear whether he saw a cat and a dog while he was on his way to work, or whether the cat and the dog themselves were on their way to work. Since the latter does not make much sense, this can be clarified as, on his way to work he saw a cat and a dog. My friends decided during the day they would look for Sam's birthday present. This sentence makes it unclear when the friends will look for Sam's birthday present. One possible fix could be, my friends decided they will look for Sam's birthday present during the day. Pronoun reference errors are another common grammar error students make in their writing. Pronoun reference errors are also known as pronoun antecedent errors and occur when a pronoun accidentally refers to a noun that it most likely should not, creating confusion. This kind of error may also cause confusion from having a sentence with unclear pronouns. To identify pronoun reference errors in your writing, ask yourself the following questions of your sentence. Can you identify every pronoun in the sentence? How would you change every pronoun into a noun? What pronouns would you like to keep? Can you rearrange a sentence so that pronouns are nearer or clearer to what they intend to modify? If all the actors in the sentence use the same gender pronouns, how can you clarify the actors? An example of a sentence with a pronoun reference error is, Bill told Ted that he had won the lottery. Notice how the sentence does not clarify whether he is referring to Bill or Ted. A few possible fixes for this sentence include, Bill told Ted that Bill had won the lottery. Bill told Ted that Ted had won the lottery. Bill told Ted, you won the lottery. Bill told Ted, I won the lottery. Notice how each of these sentences clarify the proper pronouns. Now let's practice. Correct the following sentences with pronoun reference errors. You may pause the video at this time to work on these examples. The candy bowl was empty, but we were tired of eating it anyway. In this example, it can refer to the candy, but it can also be referring to the bowl, which would not make sense. To clarify that it is referring to the candy, we can say, the candy bowl was empty, but we were tired of eating candies anyway. Daniela called Jane's home line, but she never answered the phone. Here, she can refer to either Daniela or Jane. To clarify this, we can say, Jane never answered the phone. You're ordering some medications for his chihuahua. Abel stored them in the cabinet. In this example, we can clarify that them is referring to the medications, not the chihuahua. Notice how in all of these examples, we are clarifying the pronouns that could refer to different things. When in doubt, clarify the pronoun to avoid an error. Another common type of error is apostrophe errors. Apostrophe errors commonly occur because of a misunderstanding of possessive nouns, the placement of apostrophes, and contractions. To avoid apostrophe errors, ask yourself these questions. Is my noun meant to be possessive or plural? How many nouns am I talking about? Are any of the words in my sentence contractions? Can I undo those contractions? An example of an apostrophe error is, my dog doesn't like its bed. Here, its is written as apostrophe s. Its with an apostrophe s is a contraction and stands for it is. Therefore, this should be written as, my dog doesn't like its bed, with no apostrophe s. When you're unsure whether to use a contraction version of it is or not, read the sentence with it is. If the sentence makes sense, the contraction may be appropriate. If the sentence does not make sense, a contraction is most likely not appropriate. In the following sentences, determine whether the apostrophe is placed in the correct location. You can pause the video if you would like more time to work these out. It's never too late to teach an old dog new tricks. Since this can be written as, it is never too late to teach an old dog new tricks, it's with an apostrophe is required here. They're always trying to come up with ways to improve their methods and practices. This is correct because there with an apostrophe is short for they are, which makes sense here. Note that there, their, denotes possession, and there, there, is used as an adjective. There, with the contraction, stands for they are. It was the 1970s most iconic fashion trend. For simplicity, this contraction can be undone by rewriting this. It was the most iconic fashion trend of the 1970s. Misused or missing words are the most common error you'll see in writing. However, it is also the most difficult one to correct. The English language has a vocabulary of words that is constantly expanding and changing. So misused or missing words are very hard to stay on top of without constant language practice. However, you can practice the following commonly misused words to improve your writing. Are with an A and our with an O are two commonly misused words. Are with an A is a linking verb. They are going to dinner. Are with an O shows possession. We are walking to our car. Another commonly misused pair is affect with an A and effect with an E. Effect with an E means result and is usually but not always a noun. Effect with an A means influence and is usually but not always a verb. Effect with an E can be thought of as an entity, while effect with an A can be thought of as an action. The effects of global warming are being discussed. How will climate change affect the next decade? Another commonly misused pair of words is accept and accept. Accept means to receive and can also mean coming to terms with something. I accept the consequences of my actions. Accept means to leave out. Everyone except Mary went to dinner. I don't accept late work except in emergency situations. Another misused pair is altogether as one word and altogether as two words. Altogether means entirely, whereas altogether means together and collected. Altogether, things worked out in the end. We got to work in the same place altogether. Some other commonly misused words are sight, sight, and sight. Sight refers to vision or seeing. Site is a place or location and can also be used as a shortened form of website. To cite means to reference, usually academically. Don't forget to cite the reference to that beautiful site you went to. It must have been an incredible site. Feel free to refer back to this guide at any point if you feel stuck or need to remember the correct spelling. Misused and missing words can be tricky at first, but it gets easier with time and practice. Determine whether each of the following sentences contain any misused words. You may pause the video at this time to work on these examples. Are you going to dance practice on Wednesday? This is correct because are is being used as a linking verb, not to show possession. How you spend your time now affects where you end up later. Affects with an E should be written as affects with an A, which is being used as a verb. Think about it this way. How you spend your time now influences where you end up later. I have trouble accepting that Chick-fil-A closes on Sunday. This should be revised to accepting, not accepting, because you are coming to terms with something, not leaving something out. If the proposal gets rejected, I might just scrap the idea altogether. This is written correctly because altogether as one word is being used to say entirely. I recommend going sightseeing at the Grand Canyon National Park. Sight in this case is referring to vision rather than location. Next up, we have Commas and Clauses Part 1, Intermediate Grammar, Verb Forms, and Chicago and Terbian Style Guide. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.